By Zach as usual. It's always Zach.
There.
No surprise there. And then we got Robert in the background as our
Robert
audience.
Sitting in. Robert, you want to say hello?
Hello.
All right, there
Robert was sent here by the UN as an international observer to make sure there's no human rights abuses taking place on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking crypto, dude. I swear that shit seems like it's never going out of the fucking news. There's always some goddamn fucking shitcoin being pumped. And I sent you the other day. I sent you that the one on one of the new.
Well, just a reminder just so in case people didn't listen to a prior episode, or just as a reminder, on what was it, 2 weeks ago, an episode we covered the crypto scam that was allegedly conducted by a member to a FaZe Clan and other online influencers. Basically, there's been, since the proliferation of Bitcoin in the past several months and Ethereum, and then of course everybody's probably heard of Dogecoin, there's been an uptick in alternative cryptocurrencies that most of the time go nowhere, and most of them turn out to be pump and dump schemes.
Right.
So we're just kind of keeping an eye on these
developments. And I know pump and dump sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? It sounds really good and safe.
Imagine if someone in prison said, "I'm gonna pump and dump you." That wouldn't sound like a good thing.
I'm gonna pump and dump. All right, so the token in question this time, the last time it was the Save the Kids token, but this time it's the Dink Doink.
Dink Doink.
You holding your doink?
Dink Doink.
Yeah,
that's a horrible name.
It's terrible. Basically, it's
propagated by
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul,
of course. I swear to God, those guys are literally just. They're vacuums for just like shit.
I think we both know when we talked about this earlier this week. It's obvious what's happening here. They're trying to cash in on the meme coin phenomenon, and like you made this good point where you're like, the Dogecoin kind of worked because it was natural. Now they're trying to kind of make it a thing. You know, you can't force memes.
Force a genuine. Yeah, you can't like. That's why you know there's like the hilarious attempts like Hillary Clinton like Pokemon go to the polls, huh? You know what I mean? Like just anytime it's as corny as that is. Because you can't.
It's definitely corny. It's a corny ass coin.
Yeah, and you can't force like because it became, you know, kind of like an ironic movement, the Dogecoin thing, right? It's like, yeah, we want to hodl your coins, you know. It's just stupid.
All of the memes around this shit is so stupid.
Yeah, but the Dink Doink, this one's egregiously gross because Jake Paul. One of the funniest things I found about
Jake or Logan Paul.
Fuck, I get them both confused. It's
Logan,
Logan Paul. It is Logan Paul. And Logan Paul was acting like at first he's like, dude, there's this funny, stupid coin, and it's called Dink Doink, and it's just the cutest, dumbest shit ever, and I'm holding my doink.
Yeah, see, he was trying to play it off like, whatever, I'm not a part of this, I just heard about it, and it's so funny.
And
they're trying to make it natural, yeah.
And he helped create it, and just another instance of fucking seeing your fans as just a collective bags of money, and you're just like, you want to fucking exploit them, you know.
That's what most of these altcoins are turning out to be. They're getting pushed by influencers or whatever. They're trying to take quick advantage of the meme while it's still there. And we all know memes on the internet come and go quickly.
And you know what? And memes, and you don't underestimate
dead internet.
You don't underestimate the strength of memes, because memes has caused, you know, like memes are they're a major political force. One of the things I was reading about recently, funny enough, since we're just talking about memes, is that the child tax care credit is in this new infrastructure bill, right? And it basically is like, if you have like, okay, like let's say like 3 kids, I think it's like $100 per kid you get a month to help to go towards expenses. And I saw like people on TikTok were memeing that. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you know, the strength of memes. It goes into every field.
The dead internet, the algorithms, the power of the algorithm, and the influence that internet has over us these days is scary. And stuff like this, whether it's used for political means or for financial means, it's borders on dangerously irresponsible by, I think, the parties that push it.
Oh yeah.
This is just our weekly advisory to be cautious of all these altcoins, especially ones being pushed by either of the Paul brothers or anyone from FaZe or any YouTuber or anyone like that. We would strongly, at least I would strongly recommend not purchasing these coins. The meme effect will die, and they'll wither away, and most likely you'll buy, and it'll fall to like 1/100th of a penny.
Yeah.
And you'll lose a lot of money.
So stay away from that shit.
Stay away.
Stay away from
Dink
that shit.
doink. It's a joke.
Also,
they know it's a joke.
Oh yeah, I mean just the name, dude.
They want it to be funny enough where it can be pumped up a little bit, big sell off.
But the thing is too, we forgot to mention is that they created like a whole little like South Park style cartoon.
Yeah, they're basically like ripping it. I thought that was weird. I'm like, is South Park in on this?
No, they're not.
They're just blatantly ripping it off.
I mean, I guess South Park doesn't have like a hold on the art style they use. It's not like trademarked, I guess.
It's not, wouldn't be considered like an IP, like
no,
intellectual property.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a case that could be made, but it's not. So,
well, they're trying as hard as they can to make it a thing, and it won't be a thing.
It'll never be a fucking
bold
thing.
Prediction.
Yeah. Anyway, so also I saw and talking about the Frito-Lay stuff, there was another fact that came out just through the strikes, that apparently that at the end of every month, if they worked, they were working every day, right? And they were doing the suicide shifts, remember? And
this is a story we covered last week.
Right. And basically what was learned is that they would earn a point. They'd earn a point for every 31 days worked. So people, and I guess even 1 point isn't equal to like a day off. I guess it's a couple points. People were saying that they were working 5 months straight. That's fucking ridiculous. And it's gross. So support labor movements.
Yeah.
That's all you can really do.
Well, I have one more update to a story I covered a couple weeks ago. This is just a small little one that I heard on the news this morning. In the president of Haiti's assassination, the guy that originally was like, "Hey, I'm the president now." I think he was like a foreign minister in Haiti.
Right.
He stepped back, and like an interim prime minister has taken power, and the guy kind of stepped back into his foreign minister role at the urgence of the U.S. government. And in an interview I heard this morning, a Haitian citizen was talking about how a lot of this is strings are being pulled by the U.S.
Right.
More cases of U.S. imperialism in Central and Latin America, the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And they're kind of advocating for like, why are we just allowing the U.S. to choose who's going to be our president, whoever the U.S. props up as the president?
Because we know better, dude. We know better,
They
dude.
want a more pure democracy there. They
Dude,
want
we go abroad and we make it all good, all right?
I guess so.
All right? We're just the fucking best at it, all right?
Journalist or advocate for the Haitian people that I heard this morning was saying that there should be fair elections held without U.S. involvement, which I support because that would be the most purest form of democracy, which is cool.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, so let's just get right into it. Fuck it.
Those are our updates.
That's our
of
updates.
Our previous stories.
Update. Oh my god. So all right. So I was looking for like things to talk about this week, and I had a lot of different ideas. But one thing kind of came to mind, because I just kind of want to like state it out front that like I've had friends like suggest me like certain topics to talk about, and like culture war bullshit, I'm not interested in really, right?
Define culture war.
All right, so like culture war, I mean like like Colin Kaepernick kneeling at the during the anthem, or the MLB refusing to host in Georgia because of the the restriction laws. You know what I mean? Just anything that has to do that. I just don't. I mean, I care somewhat, but I don't really care for the most part, because it's just like, it just seems like it's always a distraction. It's always a distraction away from other stuff. And the way I've come to this point is I'm actually still in the process of reading it. It's a really good book. It's called What is the Matter with Kansas and How the Democrats Lost the Midwest, basically. That's what it's called, by Thomas Frank. Great book. In the book, he basically, the thesis is that cancel culture is the same shit, was created by GOP elites to dupe the white working class into voting against its own economic interest. Right. So, like, you know, in Kansas, he takes Kansas because that's where he was from. And in Kansas, evangelical churches used to protest abortion and other liberal plagues on culture. You know, you know, like evolution, you know, it's like, but the people who actually like got behind it, they believed it's like, oh, we're challenging scientific authority, right? But in all reality, it's just some shit drum up by politicians just to basically deregulate markets and stuff like that. So,
well, I definitely agree, because I do think a lot of the stuff a lot of issues that are common in the American quote unquote political discourse, or that are like common threads in the mainstream media or on social media platforms, a lot of it just seems so contrived, and it seems like non-issue after non-issue is just being pushed and, you know, like the
Dr. Seuss shit, the Mr. Potato
and
Head
a lot
shit.
of it just feels like it's part of some greater outrage machine to kind of like push reactionary philosophies and ideas.
And that's basically what it is. It's you know, instead of, you know, he talked about like back in the day when there was economic inequality, and there, you know, basically talks about how big business basically ruined these farmers and ruined their livelihoods, right? And, you know, it used to be a very liberal area, right? When it was working class, it was at least, you know, liberals.
I have heard that back in the late 19th, early 20th century, that the working class whites were a big progressive voting bloc.
They were,
and that there was some flip flop among, usually in the Nixon to Reagan era. There was some kind of flip flop where the right wing parties and forces kind of won over working class whites and lower class, usually without a college education, people living in more rural areas.
Yeah, and, you know, when I talk about the working class, I'm referring to, you know, everybody, you know, not just white people, but, you know, I just feel like you have to make that clear, because sometimes people will be like, oh, you're talking about the working class, you're just talking about the white working class. I'm like, no, I'm talking about everybody.
Well, in this case, a lot of working class people that are not considered white still is a big voting bloc for the Democrats, whereas I feel like they've all but lost the majority of white working class. So I think there is a case to be made that there is like a little bit of a racial element here, but maybe that has to do with the culture wars. So please continue.
Yeah. So instead of talking about social and economic inequality like the politicians and the pundits, they talk about hot button, you know, cultural issues to redirect anger at either, because now it's either, you know, Democrats and liberals engage in, you know, culture war shit too. You know, I'm just saying, I got to a point where I was sick and tired of these conservatives, like, basically doing cancel culture, you know, and like most recently, I can't remember the lady's name, but I think she was a sprinter and she kneeled for the flag, and, you know, of course, right-wing people were like, oh, well, she shouldn't be running for, you know, all that shit, as always. And it's like, oh, you're not proud to be an American. It's like, no, maybe they are proud. They're just, you know, they're taking a stance. you know? And it just, but the thing is that it all just is just a distraction. That person has the right to fucking kneel or do whatever they want, and people just get caught in a tizzy because it becomes like a hot button issue. It becomes like a hot topic, like, you know, like the Colin Kaepernick shit was.
Yeah, it's all outrage.
So,
you know, Colin Kaepernick in his original protest, like, just sat on the bench.
Yeah.
And then people got mad, and he tried to kind of come up with a compromise, and he went and talked to some veteran.
Yeah, he talked to
and the guy was like, you know, I understand where you're coming from, but he's like, if you want to meet in the middle and, you know, have some actual outreach to the people who are just going to be like, oh, look at him disrespecting the troops and the flag. And he was like, well, try kneeling. And even that was still, like, enough for people to get, which kneeling is like genuflect. You genuflect
just
when you're in church. Yeah. You know, it doesn't seem disrespectful.
Yeah, dude, kneeling sounds honestly like more respectful if you really think about it. Like, if you just see a bunch of jags just kneeling and you see a dude, you see a bunch of people just standing with their hands over their hearts, or you see a guy kneeling in reverence. It seems honestly, if I was an alien coming down, that the guy kneeling seems more patriotic to me. I mean, it seems like more respectful. I'm talking about just, you know, picking semantics. But anyway, so, but the Democrats, what they did is they really forsake these people. What they ended up doing is, instead of going towards working class dollars, they started courting more corporate money and started looking for more affluent whites, right? Yeah, so there's a coalition of social conservatives and economic conservatives, right? And the social conservatives are the ones, you know, like the Marjorie Taylor Greens, who just go out there and just, you know, just drum up hate and fucking, you know, just, you know, what she does. And
on a tear about all kinds of silly things all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, you know, how she, I don't want to bring you too off topic, but what was the one she did where, man, I can't remember.
Well, there was the Jewish space lasers. There was that one.
That one I do remember. No, she made like some weird big thing about like not wanting to wear a mask inside the when Congress was gathering, you know, or you know, and like that's like her political, like that's how she fuels her political machine, is doing stuff like that,
right?
Where she knows, like, you know, we're here at work. Anybody that's working, you know, you got to wear a mask at work, and being a congressman, I guess, is a job. Right. It's up for debate.
And so there's like the economic conservatives, right, who just focus on policy and like basically cutting corporate taxes, cutting, you know, deregulating, just all that manner sort of stuff. So the social conservatives, they'll drum up the culture war, you know, drum, and like get the voting base mobilized for these you know, hot button issues. But then when they get in, all they do is just, they do the same shit as the economically conservative folk. You know what I mean? They just go in and then they just do, like, you know, they never battle for these culture wars once they get into office, because
they're all just political pieces, basically.
Right. They all wage cultural battles where victory is not possible. In order to explain to the conservatives, why no progress gets made on these issues, politicians and pundits point their fingers to a liberal elite, a straw man representing everything that conservatism is not. When reasons are given, they eschew economic reasons in favor of accusing this elite of simply hating America or having a desire to harm average Americans. So, you know what I mean? Like, the whole... like they make, you know, the liberal elite seem like these group that are coming down and they're coming for you, and they're gonna victimize you.
Well, you know, we talked about Tucker Carlson last week, and I think one thing that we brought up was how, like, he frames himself as like this rebel, like an outsider, and like the machine is run by these liberal elites, the media, the government. You know, everything's run by these liberal elites, and Tucker Carlson's an outsider, you know, with his bow tie,
with his fucking bow tie and all his money.
You know, so a lot of times what I've noticed, a big part of like right-wing politics is like they framing themselves as like the resistance, the rebels to some like liberal machine that they're like fighting against to throw off some yoke of government that, is oppressing them, while pushing economic, under behind the curtain, pushing economic policies that are actually the bigger chains than anything that the quote unquote liberal machine creates.
Right. No, yeah, exactly. And another quote I wanted to read just real quick. Sorry. Not long ago, Kansas would have responded to the current situation regarding to big businesses pushing out these smaller farmers. They would be by making the bastards pay. This would have been a political certainty as predictable as what happens when you touch a match to a puddle of gasoline. When business screwed the farmers and the workers, when it implemented monopoly strategies invasive beyond the populist furthest imaginings, when it ripped off shareholders and casually tossed thousands out of work, you could be damn sure what would follow. Not these days. Out here, the gravity of discontent only pulls in one direction, to the right, and further to the right. Strip Kansans of their job security, and they have to become outright registered Republicans. Push them off their land, the next thing you know, they'll be protesting in front of abortion clinics. Squander their life savings for manicures for CEO, and there's a good chance they'll be joining the John Birch Society. But ask them about remedies their ancestors proposed, unions, antitrust, public ownership, and you might as well be as well referring to the days when knighthood was in flower.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Okay, so basically what he's saying in that when in that quote is that instead, like long ago when there was a stronger coalition of a working class, they would when corporations and shit like that would push them off, they would fight, they would do this. But the conservatives turned them into basically just anger machines and people to like it was saying, protesting abortion clinics.
So basically through economic insecurities and cultural anxieties, they were able to push the working class further right. Exactly. Is that what am I understanding that right?
That's exactly right. And the thing is that, what he was saying at the end is like, you ask them like, what could fix, like you being out of a job or this or that. And they'll be like, oh, I don't know. And they won't even bring that up. But when you talk about, like abortion or whatever the current cancel culture or, culture war topic is at the time, they'll have an opinion on that, but they won't have an opinion on like a corporate tax rate or, like something that would actually affect them, you know what I mean? Or antitrust, legislation.
Yeah, because most of these quote unquote culture war issues, like the effect on the individual is like nil in most cases. Like transgender people using the bathroom isn't gonna really affect people's day-to-day life all that much. Or some Hollywood insider getting Me Too'd isn't really gonna affect the individual's day-to-day life all that much. But when they use these issues, they can create the outrage machine and direct that energy, that reactionary energy, into pushing right-wing politicians and using it as a base of gathering votes, I guess.
Yeah, basically they appeal to like people's base anger.
I mean, I've seen this happen in person with people.
Yeah.
From all walks of life who maybe didn't start out very political, but like slowly, this is a big thing I've noticed over the past decade that's taken place. Maybe somebody who maybe has a few political opinions or whatnot, but overall, they're not like beating the drum and marching in line with nationalists or any political party for that matter. But in recent years, there's just been this weird shift. I've seen it time and time again where that person, through like a slow etching of these, like a slow little bombardment, I guess to say, of these like right-wing talking points about like whether it's anything as silly as like the gay agenda or
the
like,
war on Christmas,
you know, the war on Christmas.
One of our we always side note, we always love it. Like me and you, we've joked at ends about when conservatives, talk about the war on Christmas like it's a battlefield. It's like, oh, it's a war on Christmas. They're not letting us say. They're making us say Happy Holidays. God damn it!
Or anything like transgender people taking over the world. To anything that's a little bit more debatable, like, liberal media control, I guess, or whatever.
Right.
So, like, slowly, like, people will hear this stuff, and it'll maybe just be something they're frustrated about, but then that, like, anger and those frustrations directed at those non-issues, as I like to call them, begin the spiral, and then mix that with the economic anxieties we've all been experiencing, over the past decade and longer, mix that in, and all of a sudden you've got a budding nationalist, reactionary nationalist on your hands who's voting for far-right politicians who are implementing far-right policies and further exacerbating a lot of the problems. There's no solutions there that are being offered, really.
Yeah.
Like, what's the solution to...
Like, even as bad as it was, like, the Democrats, like, kind of abandoning, these Midwest folk, as sad as that is, the Republicans basically are using them and using them as almost as just manpower just to push their agendas, right? They use them as... They just see them as, But what's funny is that a lot of these Republicans, they're just as elitist as the politicians and pundits and whatnot. They're just as elitist as the Democrats that they choose to
Oh yeah,
demonize.
even more so. I think that there is. I've heard people say there is a lot more money backing right-wing think tanks and right-wing politicians and right-wing pundits than there is backing more progressive. Like, the money flows the majority of the time towards the right in politics, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny. I was like just looking for like certain examples, like one that like would catch my eye of like really absurd cancel culture war type shit. And there was one where I saw I don't know if you know many of the Fox News. I only know her because she's like one of the biggest like Trump stans on Fox News. But her name's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's terrible. And one of the things she said in regards to the shutdown of Parler. You remember that?
Man, this just reminded me. Go on.
And then the shutting down of Parler, she said that it's a censorship as akin to the Kristallnacht. like I mean, they don't care what they say or what effect it's gonna have on people, just as long as it serves their agenda. And that's pretty much all from the book. I'm sorry, but just just I think the idea that Thomas Frank poses, the thesis that he poses in this book, is very interesting, because a lot of this shit just serves as a distraction so that they can just continue deregulating and continue to make wealth inequality even greater than it already was. Yeah.
So here's a funny one that I just remember when you mentioned Parler. Recently, in this past week, some guy who claims to be the youngest crypto coin millionaire.
Oh, is this the Freedom Phone guy? Yes, I saw this.
There's someone blatantly profiting off of
that's a great thank you for bringing that up. That is a great example. That Freedom Phone fucking guy.
Dude, did you see that they went and looked into what it is, and they found that this guy was buying some like third-party cheap-ass phone off AliExpress and relabeling it as the Freedom Phone, and they're calling it the Patriot App Store, where you can go and you can purchase all these apps that have basically been barred for violating, the major app stores terms of service. There's maybe more of a little bit of a topic there, but we'll save that for another time. But I just think that's hilarious that they're literally like, at this point they know, and they're gonna exploit it. They're gonna exploit this anxiety of people, this anxiety they're building, pressing this idea that big tech is in cahoots with the liberal elites, and they're slowly banning these platforms and deplatforming, right-wing pundits and online personalities, and slowly but surely removing free speech, from America.
Yeah.
And I just think it's hilarious that, the whole selling point of this phone is basically revolves around that idea. I feel I feel bad for anybody that's gullible enough to be like, I need the Freedom Phone.
Yeah,
I need the Freedom Phone.
Yeah, and then they'll probably install Facebook on it.
Yeah. I mean, like, those apps are, and you're just if you stick to those apps, you're just gonna pull yourself further into a biased bubble. That's basically what those apps are. It's basically, they exist to purely cater to right-wing ideas and stuff, and not have any pushback to them, and allow people to get further sucked into these bubbles. And it's all based off of cancel culture, the idea of it run amok a little bit. I think again, it's like a non-issue. Like, really, were these apps really that important? Were they really providing that much of a difference in people's day-to-day life?
And the reason I wanted to kind of like just talk about this is I wanted to make people aware of the book. I think it's probably one of the best political books I've ever read. I'm fucking retarded.
That's obvious. I mean, if people have been following this podcast, that's become very clear.
It's very clear. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring this up because I see a lot of people falling for the bait of reacting to, culture war bullshit in many facets. And a lot of times I just say that it's really all not that important, and it's most likely they're using it as a smokescreen so that they can do more dubious things behind the scenes.
Are you gonna get a Freedom Phone?
Fuck no.
Well, I call my phone the slavery phone, so it keeps me enslaved.
I want a phone that has
It keeps me a sheep. Like, every time I turn it on in the morning, it's like bah, and I'm like, hello, corporate overlords. Hello, liberal elites. And then I go on, and it's like I try to log on to my Parler account.
Yeah, as you do.
And because I wanted to post something about Colin Kaepernick or whatever. And next thing I know, it's banned, and I'm like, wow, I don't have any freedom whatsoever. What I need is a Freedom Phone. So really, this is a godsend.
I'm not doing a fucking ad for them, Zach.
This is a godsend.
No.
I hope I turn on this phone in the morning and God bless America blast out the speakers.
God bless your phone. But yeah, so that's pretty much it I had on that. You wanna go into the Olympics?
All right, so the Olympics. I'm sure everybody has been waiting for this Olympics with bated breath after it was postponed last year due to the that thing.
I
forgot.
What was it called again? I forget.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
The pandemic. Well, obviously, I'm sure everybody knows where it is and that it's happening. But how many people are really watching? Has it even started? I don't know. I think it's somewhat... No. It's somewhat started, because I swear I've heard that the U.S. women's softball team has won a couple games. So it's kind of started.
Kinda.
I mean, but... Why would you know that? Because who's watching the Olympics in 2021?
I literally haven't. I remember the last time, like, sitting down and watching the Olympics was when everyone was like hyping up Michael Phelps, and
that was the last time that I remember Beijing. The Olympics. Like, that's the last time I really remember, like, because sitting down and watching an Olympics. When I was like, I was like 13, 14 at the time.
Yeah.
And I was really, really into women's gymnastics. Sean, I was about to say, was her name Shannon or Sean? Sean. Oh my God, she was excellent, a great athlete, and that's why I watched it for the. I was 13, 14. Come on. Right. I loved women's gymnastics, and my other favorite was speed walking. So,
is that really one?
Yeah, speed walking's real. It's different than running, because you're supposed to have one foot on the ground at all times.
So dumb.
And then it was like a massive herd of just people quickly walking around this track. It was hilarious.
Isn't there one where like it's like ribbon dancing where they like?
Oh, there's ribbon dancing. Yeah.
I mean, there's literally.
Yeah.
And like I get the idea behind it, right? The Olympics, like, oh, like we'll have everybody compete against each other, but like you see it in like recent days, and you're just like, it seems like kind of outdated.
I mean, yeah, you put it on maybe like if you're flipping through the channels, you're like, oh, the Olympics is on, and you put it on maybe just to see what's happening, and then you're just watching people swim up and down the pool. And you maybe watch for 10, 15 minutes, and you're like, okay, let's see what's on. What else is on?
Turn it off, and then tune into the motherfucking X Games.
Yeah.
that's what the real G's do.
X Games where it's at. So
yeah, dude, you're not. Oh, am I gonna see the Olympics? Some dude on a snowmobile do a flip.
That's the Winter Olympics. Even worse than the Summer Olympics.
Oh my god, yeah. At least the Summer Olympics, it has like real, like the
Shout
Winter
out
Olympics.
to the Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah, hell yeah, shout out to them though. But no, like remember, like there's one where it's like one where you have to like ski a little bit and then shoot a couple of targets and then ski some more. Yeah, I'm not even right. Yeah, right, Rob.
That's weird. But I mean, the Winter Olympics is cool because it's got a weirder collection of sports and activities. That's what I like about it. It's got like a weirder, stranger one.
Yeah, I can see that.
The Olympics is just funny to turn on. I love international events. First off, I will say that's what's cool about the Olympics is it's kind of an international community coming together to participate in some global event, which is cool.
More America better win.
You know, but for the most part, and some of the activities are just like never televised either. So it's kind of funny to just turn on and watch.
Dude, I watch the women's weightlifting, dude.
Oh yeah, or to turn it on and watch like Olympic archery or Olympic bowling is kind of fun for like 15 minutes, and then you get bored. And you change the channel.
I'd rather watch baseball. That's how boring it is.
What makes this year's Olympics interesting is that it's still being held amidst that thing, the pandemic, and so this Olympics is a little bit more. It has a lot less pomp and circumstance than the typical Olympics. No. I don't know. I haven't seen it. You know, usually, like, speaking of Beijing, they had that huge opening ceremony with people banging drums.
Oh, shit.
Fucking people flying and shit.
Real quick. I just, I do love a good opening ceremony.
I don't think there's one for this year. So, because of the pandemic has ruined it. So, the point I'm trying to, my question here is because Japan has been placed where it's being held, Tokyo. Japan has been placed under a state of emergency. In order to host the Olympics, they placed their country under a state of emergency. I know, right? In fact, I've been seeing things online. The majority of Japanese citizens don't even want the Olympics to happen. They're like, we're good. It was cool 10 years ago when we were assigned this Olympics, but now we're willing to give up the Olympics if it means removing a state of emergency. You know?
Yeah. So what else has been going on? Because I know that Toyota recently pulled their sponsorship. So what makes it different?
So due to all the controversy that hosting the Olympics during a pandemic causes, a lot of the people of Japan, I already mentioned that the citizens, a lot of them don't really want it there. And big sponsors have pulled out. Toyota, Japan's biggest company, is refusing to air ads or, sponsor anything during the events because they're just like, no, they're like, that should be a no-go. My idea, what I was thinking about it the other day is I'm like, why don't they just push it all back? Just say, hey, sorry, 2020 Olympics didn't happen. We'll see y'all. And just whatever whatever international city had it in 2024, push them back to 2028, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, because this winter one's gonna be next year in 2022, right? Yeah. So just push summer back to 2024. And just outright cancel the 2020 and push them. I understand the one point I do understand and I'm sympathetic towards is the athletes. A lot of athletes only have one chance at the Olympics because they're in their prime, they've done all this training, they're at the peak performance, and right now is their one shot at their best performance of a lifetime. Yeah, so that's the one thing that I understand,
especially in gymnastic, artistic, and rhythmic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially
So-
in in karate.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
yeah.
these are young people who've trained a lifetime for this moment, and pushing it back kind of doesn't give them that opportunity that
those
they've been.
ping pong guys, they're at the top of their abilities, dude. Those guys, they're at the top of their game, and you're telling me they're gonna have to wait?
So yeah, basically yeah, and that would be like probably the best move for the world at large, but it would be pretty damning for these athletes to do all that training just to be told, hey, sorry, this goal you've worked towards your entire life is not happening this year, and you're gonna have to maybe wait 4 more years when your game is possibly not as sharp or you're not at your peak that you are now. And that's the one thing I am sympathetic towards, and I do understand.
Right.
So in order to accommodate, at first they were gonna have spectators. I'm a little unclear about the whole spectators thing. At first they were gonna have spectators, but they were gonna say,
real quick, this is our shame segment.
yeah, this
We
is
forgot-
shame.
yeah, we're
Shame on
shaming-
the Olympics.
Shame the Olympics. They suck a fat dick.
Goddamn Olympics. So
And we've already said sports are fake anyways.
exactly. So
Why would you want to watch one where it's a bunch of sports that are fake, okay?
a bunch of
They
fake
added...
sports.
Okay, wait, here we go. They added some...
This is one giant facade. Think of this more of a theatrical event than
Yeah.
a sporting event.
Yeah, I mean, okay, karate's new. Skateboarding, apparently.
Nice.
Rad. Sport climbing.
I did hear about that one. Speed climbing.
Surfing. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Right on.
Yeah, but there's trampoline gymnastics.
Oh, dude, that actually sounds cool. I kind of want to watch that.
All right.
For the
okay, but
ladies that
one's
put in all that hard
no one's
work.
watching the wrestling. No one's watching wrestling.
I guess, yeah, most people aren't. If you're
Olympic
sailing, hell yeah. See, sometimes it just sounds so silly, and you never see it anywhere else
Yeah.
except in the Olympics. That's the one cool thing about it, is you turn on the TV and you're like, holy fucking shit, professional sailing.
One's just
Fuck
called.
yeah.
One's just called equestrian.
That's horse racing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fencing.
Fencing's awesome.
All right. We got boxing. Lame.
I mean, hold on. Before you continue with this list, a lot of these sports events, these sports competitions already occur, and a lot of times the biggest prize in a lot of these sporting events
money.
isn't the gold medal. It's like I think about this. The NBA Finals just happened. Shout out to Giannis
shout out Giannis.
and the Milwaukee Bucks. But like, you know, there's the U.S. men's basketball team is going to compete in the Olympics.
Right.
Who cares about the NBA Finals? What matters more in terms of like prestige in the competition?
Someone said, bro, Giannis, he completed everything you can do in the NBA at 26.
But as he won a gold medal in the Olympics, who cares? That's what I say.
Yeah. He's been back-to-back MVP. Okay?
Same thing with soccer. Take the world's like soccer occurs in the Olympics, but the most prestigious international event is the World Cup or the Euro Cup that took place this
Right.
year. Like
Or
a
the
lot of times,
Champions League.
and or Champions League for club. I was speaking more internationally, but you know, a lot of times in a lot of these sports, the highest honor, the highest championship isn't even an Olympic gold medal itself. I'm sure it's pretty dope to win an Olympic gold medal. You
it's
know?
very dope.
But like, you know, the U.S. men's basketball team, I feel like goes out there just to, like, I heard in Brazil, was it Brazil last time? I heard they didn't stay in the Olympic Village because, hello, they're professional NBA athletes.
Yeah.
They stayed on a mega yacht off the coast.
Hell yeah.
And just partied.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, they probably barely, like, I'm sure they tried and they cared maybe a little bit. But like for them, it's like I bet you a lot more work and a lot more blood, sweat, and tears are put into the NBA playoffs and finals than the Olympics.
Speaking of the Olympic Village, I bet you there's a lot of fucking that goes on.
So, unfortunately,
COVID.
Unfortunately,
Olympic Village.
the Olympic Village. So because of the COVID restrictions that have been placed this year, the Japanese organizers and the International Olympic Committee doesn't really want a lot of commingling among the athletes
no.
in order to reduce the spread of COVID. So basically, they don't want people having sex, which I guess is a common theme. If I was invited to the Olympics, that's what I'd be looking forward to more than
of
any
course.
gold medal. Is just the crazy
Yeah.
sex that happens with also hot Swedish men coming in, chiseled chest. Hello there. I am just-
Gustav. I'm looking for the discotheque.
Yes, it's the discotheque. We are here for rowing. We are professional rowers, as you can see by our big muscles coming in. And, and anyways, so I guess
Yes. Oh wait.
this-
Okay. Wait. This is like the one moment for swimmers to shine because
Yeah.
no one gives a shit about swimming at any other time.
Exactly.
And it's just like, and honestly, even when I watch the swimming, I'm like, okay.
So, but anyways, I guess for
Can I tell a quick story about swimmers?
Go for it. Go
Robert
for it.
would like to tell a story about swimming. Let's hear it, Robert.
So I partied with some swimmers one time, and they like to go crazy.
at?
It was at a university in the SEC.
Okay.
Okay.
And they like to party, but the funny thing is they all cut out by like 12:45, 1 o'clock, because they're so used to waking up the next morning for workouts. So, can I
Go for it.
45 more seconds?
No, talk as long as you want, Rob.
I went to a swimmer party one time, and I brought some of my friends who are from California, and some of them ended up going home with some of the swimmers that night. And
to hook up or just as buddies?
no, they were fucking. But one of the guys, he improved his time by 2 seconds on like the 50 the next day. It was a personal record. And the swimmers always talked about me and my roommate from then on forward. Because they were like, yo, you need to come through. That was some good times.
And
But swimmers, bro, they
don't fuck around.
Party.
They party until they gotta go to sleep and wake up the next morning.
All right, I didn't know that. A deep insight into the world of swimming. Who knew?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Robert got him laid.
Yeah.
How, we won't ask.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. So, due to, a bunch of very fit, young people from around the world coming into the same place, it's very conducive to
A lot of babies being made.
to sexual activity. Well, the Olympics has their own condom brand, and this year they're not passing them out because they don't. A big thing that the Olympic Committee's trying to push is to reduce the amount of commingling, cohabitating, and fucking because they don't want COVID to spread. And obviously that would be a reason that COVID could spread easily.
Right.
Would just be all the wild sex that's happening
Wow.
at the Olympic Village among people from around the world that are very fit. So I'm not just the condoms aren't being handed out this year as to not encourage it, but it's not just that. Online recently, they're posting pictures of the beds that they've set up for the Olympic athletes staying at the village, the Olympic Village,
Alright.
and they're cardboard beds.
Fucking for
That,
real?
yeah, it's so that like it can only support one person, and if two people are on there pounding away, the bed would collapse.
And
That's
then,
ruining sex because we all know sex isn't as good on the floor. And obviously athletes in their prime need a bed to be on for sex. They can't have sex in any other way. Forget the showers. Forget the streets.
okay, I'm looking at these
And
bed
no alcohol is allowed in the Olympic Village. And also a big thing is no tourism. The athletes aren't allowed to go out and tour. Obviously, the main point of for the city to be hosting the Olympics is the tourism, the influx in tourism and all the money that brings. But no tourism will be allowed by the athletes, and even international spectators are not being allowed into the country. Yeah, there's a picture of
Yeah. It literally, I can't believe it's literally made of cardboard. That's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious.
They don't want people fucking
Man, that's
in order to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
Yeah, but
No,
no, not whatsoever.
No getting it on.
All right.
So, and there's no alcohol. I think I said that. No
Lame.
alcohol. And, so the other thing is, it looks like spectators, both internationally and domestically, have been banned entirely. Originally, they were going to, allow limited spectators, but no cheering, no chanting, no singing. So no fun. No fun.
fun.
And then they're just outright no spectators, no international visitors, no tourism.
Wow.
And it's just the
gonna be
athletes.
very one-sided.
Yeah, no, it's the athletes The teams that work with the athletes, the officials, and journalists.
Okay.
So that are allowed there. So like on the news this morning, I heard that in one of these softball events, someone hit a home run and it was just silent, and just like a few lone claps from like the staff, and some journalists that were there.
Because of the pandemic, we're accustomed to silence in the stands.
Yeah,
remember when we watched? Remember like when sports first like came back and like it was like all silent and we're like, this is weird.
It's eerie, right?
It's eerie as fuck. Yeah. But I don't know. I think the Olympics are lame. You know,
This is the lamest one of all, though.
Oh, yeah.
This is the point I'm trying to make with it being held this year. Well, COVID is still a thing. Well, the vaccines are still being dispersed. Although one thing I did note here is vaccines are not required for anybody, staff
no
or
vaccine
athletes.
passport.
No, not needed. But they're encouraged, and they have vaccines on site if you choose to get one there.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically, this is just shaping up to be the most dullest, most bland Olympics. And rather than push it back, I guess they're pretty adamant about hosting this for whatever reason, whether it's the International Olympic Committee themselves pushing it, or the Japanese government, or maybe it's a mixture of forces that really just want it to happen. Like
Moneyed
I said,
interest.
well, like I said, the athletes, I'm sure, do want to compete. They've been training for this, but, what's the point if you're not going to get laid?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So,
Anyway, and and like
do we really need the Olympics is what
No.
the question here is.
No, I don't really.
And that's where I think the shame for this segment should
Yeah.
be thrown on is the Olympics as a general thing. Who cares?
Who fucking cares? Speaking of like I was
Shout
talking
out
about,
Michael Phelps.
Shout out Michael Phelps. Speaking of like culture war shit, like I was saying earlier, I remember hearing, I think it was on Tucker, but I'm not sure. It was on some Fox News show. They were talking about having genital inspections at the Olympics.
No way.
To make sure there's no trans.
No way.
Yeah, I swear to God. I
They're
swear
gonna
to God.
inspect everybody's genitals? Whose
Yeah.
job is that?
It's not inspecting genitals, it's testing testosterone. So some people have been disqualified for not being in the accepted levels of testosterone.
Right. When some people
Whether
even
they're transvestite or not?
transgendered.
Transgender, sorry.
Yeah, whether or not they're transgender. Like some ladies from Africa have been disqualified because their testosterone levels were too high, and they're like runners, long distance runners. Or track.
Well, that doesn't sound fair.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty lame.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know, I just thought I'd bring that up. So
For an event that is kind of lost its luster, I would say, in the 21st century, that I guess comes around and people are like, oh, cool, the Olympics, and you kind of get a little bit of insight into whatever city it's being held in. I like that aspect of it. You get to learn about this city, and what goes on there.
Right.
But for the most part, I feel like, as at least in the past decade, maybe throughout this century, the 21st century, the Olympics has lost a lot of its luster and a lot of its pizzazz, and
Yeah.
I don't know if this was a trend or just how I felt about it, but this year really feels like the icing on the top of like a downward trend and a downward interest in the Olympics, and like it's just surrounded with controversy this year, and I'm like, why can't we just like skip it and then come back in full force, revive it, have a soft reboot in the 2024 for the summer.
Soft reboot.
I mean, are you guys tuning into any Olympic events? Be honest.
No.
No's all
I
around.
would have watched Sha'Carri Richardson, but no.
Who?
Sha'Carri Richardson. She's the girl that got popped for smoking weed.
I am kind of interested.
Man, this Olympics is surrounded with bullshit.
I am kind of interested in Simone Biles because like she's on another level of like greatness right now with the moves she does. She has her own scoring. Like she's not allowed to do certain moves because.
Oh,
it's too
I did hear about this. Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. I do remember hearing about that. Yeah,
And I'm a big fan of women's gymnastics.
yeah.
No one
It's
can
awesome.
do what she does, and she was beasting in the 2016 Olympics.
Yeah, she was.
She's back. She's back for more.
All right, so that might be the one Simone Biles, but literally everyone else, I don't.
I can you other than Simone Biles and the runner Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yeah, but she's not competing anymore.
Oh yeah. Like what other Olympic athletes could you name other than athletes that already like the U.S. men's basketball team? None of those guys.
Okay, you're
like
Nyjah Houston.
who?
Tony Hawk and Nyjah Houston.
Who's that?
Skateboarding team.
Oh, the skateboarding team.
Tony
okay.
Hawk.
He's in the Olympics. I like couldn't believe that. I like wasn't hearing the name. Yeah, isn't he too old?
Wow.
No, he was like, fuck it.
He was. I guess he's still that good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like didn't hear. I couldn't believe that Tony Hawk was silly. I was like not. That was like not registering.
So real quick, the 2 medal contenders, they were from Namibia, were disqualified in the women's 400-meter race because natural testosterone levels were too high.
Too damn high.
But were they legitimately transgender?
No.
Transgender.
They have
were just
natural.
women with higher than like acceptable, quote unquote, acceptable testosterone levels.
Right. So some women, yeah, these women their bodies produce more naturally occurring testosterone, and it shows up on the level, like being above the levels when it's really just they're naturally.
I'd be pretty pissed if I was them, and I'd be pretty pissed if I was Sha'Carri Johnson too.
Sha'Carri Richardson.
Sorry. I don't follow the Olympics. Give me a break.
All right,
I
so
only first heard that lady's name on Twitter a couple of weeks ago.
all right,
when the news popped off.
So
okay, if you were forced because the Olympic events are being hosted live, or who watches sports not live? So obviously it's on the other side of the world. So these Olympic events will be airing in the middle of the night. So if it was 4 a.m. and you were forced to sit there and watch the Olympics for an hour, what event would you like to see most?
Okay, out of
You're
the
like
Summer
chained
Olympics.
down, and they're like,
Okay,
gonna
well,
watch the
actually,
Olympics.
I was reading that in the Summer Olympics, they added 3v3 basketball, 3-on-3
Really?
basketball. Yeah,
That sounds kind of cool.
that would be kind of cool. Beach volleyball.
Oh, remember how athletes that used to attend your high school?
Oh yeah, Carrie Walsh.
Weren't they? Did they win the gold medals?
Yeah. She won for like women's doubles. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let's move on. We ran a little long on that one.
All right.
So
Forget the Olympics.
fuck the Olympics.
Move on. Let's move on.
Let's just
move
all
on.
collectively move on.
Forget the Olympics.
So wanted to talk today. You see them rich people? They're going up into space.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Jeff Bezos and his cock rocket. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be a big fixation for everybody is that the top of this rocket kind of was phallic in nature.
Yeah.
It was phallic in nature.
There's I have a lot of problems with all of this in general. First off, I guess this is my corporate slam piece. Slam!
Blue Origin.
Blue Origin slamming. I just think it's gross how there's a lot of Americans who have this like idolized view of these billionaires, and they view them as like these people to look up to.
A lot.
What?
You're saying a lot of people. I think you have maybe a little bit of a. I haven't noticed that. I see a lot of people criticizing this stuff.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like this is a well-received venture that Jeff Bezos went on publicly. I don't know if what I see online is a little biased.
I think he's lost a little bit of his luster because of all the Amazon the stuff that's come out as far as the working conditions in the factories and all that. But, there's still that kind of worship for, like, someone like an Elon Musk. You know what I mean? People still, like, kind of look up to him. I mean, you see that all over fucking Twitter.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, the point is what? What's up?
Robert?
Darkwing Dyke said, "This bald bitch really spent and the world hunger money to spend 10 minutes flying in a giant dick. He need his ass beat for real."
I agree with that sentiment
said that?
100%.
Dark Wing Dyke.
Darkwing Dyke.
Okay.
All right.
Is that a Twitter personality?
Anyway, so I agree with that.
There's also the untalked about massive amounts of carbon emissions that were released during literally the most deadliest summer on record due to weather events, whether it's heat waves and wildfires here in America or massive flooding in Europe and Asia.
Right.
Like, there is a crazy amount of environmentally related issues occurring
let's burn
this summer.
Let's burn a bunch of fuel for slow
Yeah,
rocket
and
launches.
just like forget about all those environment problems because we're going to space. Screw
Well, Jeff
Earth.
Bezos, when he came back down, he was like, "Oh man, you go up there and you really see the reverence. We gotta protect this little marble. We gotta, you know what I mean? We gotta protect the world, you know." And it's like, okay, dude.
What a blowhard.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think the statement where a lot of people receive backlash, and I think this is because, dude, I'm looking at the list. Handball is a fucking sport in the Olympics.
Love me some handball.
All right, so the thing that seemed to get Jeff Bezos in a bit of not looked upon favorably for this is because he said at the end of it, he said that he wanted to thank the Amazon workers and the Amazon consumers for making this possible.
For paying for it.
Yeah.
So out of touch.
So out of touch, dude. Oh my God. Spending billions of dollars so that a
Government subsidized.
Government subsidized dollars so
and he
that
barely pays taxes.
to go where we've been many times before.
Suborbital launch.
Yeah, exactly. 11-minute ride. You're right, Rob. Yeah,
It was a joyride. It was a rich man
some
joyride.
guy pay $28 million and then say, I'm not going to be able to make it.
He probably thought it was stupid as fuck when it came down to it.
I
He's
actually read about that. The guy double booked and he ended up giving it to his son, and that man is that the son was Damon Oliver, who's the son of a private equity CEO. So yeah, okay.
$28 million joyride.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Must be nice. I just want my student loans paid off, but it's okay. Anyway, so Jeff Bezos was pumping about $1 million a year into this
That's
project. $1 billion.
$1 billion. Okay.
$1 billion. Did I say million?
Yeah, I thought I heard $1 million.
Okay, so $1 billion. He's pumping $1 billion a year into this project. He took his brother Mark, where I told you about this before, where he shot this like phony video where he's like asking him for the first time, and it's like staged and lighted, and it's like, "Oh, do you want to come?" And Jeff Bezos' face. I don't know if you've noticed. There's been a lot of speculation that he's taking testosterone.
Really?
And you can really see it in his face. Like his face is like wider, and like I'm just look at face comparisons of Jeff Bezos over the year, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It looks like his jaw is wider. Like,
bro, did you see how he put on a cowboy hat?
Yeah,
when he
okay,
landed?
yeah, that was
I
so
was like,
dumb.
yeah, it was so corny. I was like, dude, this guy wants to be the space cowboy so bad.
yeah. So he took his brother Mark, the 18-year-old Damon Oliver, like I said, the son of a private equity CEO, and then he took a woman, Wally Funk, who is an actual candidate for a flight. She's 82 years old.
He took an 82-year-old.
Yeah, well, she qualified for a launch, but I guess never actually made it to space. I don't know the behind it, but she qualified to be an astronaut, but never got the chance to go to space. So. I guess it was like
That's
kind
like
of a nice gesture.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that nice? You know what I mean? So you can have that kind of reaction. Bezos has now already sold about $100 million in tickets.
For what? For the next one?
Yeah, for the next flights. Yeah. And apparently the estimated price, they don't know because it seems like it's like, it's like client to client, you have to set it up. Like none of us is ever going to be able to, even like, see where to go, unless you have a shit ton of money.
Or unless you're being sent to the sex colony.
Yeah, exactly.
That's being set up in space.
On the moon. And so people are guessing it costs around $300,000 to $500,000 for the adventure. I guess.
So this is basically like an amusement park attraction.
Basically,
at this point.
yeah. And, he's like, we're building the road so that our children can venture into space.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about this is
Yeah.
I think they present this and as like they're like pioneers. They're paving the way, the new frontier.
Yeah, but we've been to the moon.
And they have rockets that they can launch.
Yeah.
Like what good scientifically speaking or technologically speaking is really coming from this? Like what new science has been discovered? What research was done, what advancements were made,
Right. Well,
or is this just like what people say, and rightfully so, I think, a vanity project?
It is a vanity project, and you know what? And the thing that really bothers me is that, from our previous NASA launches, we gained a lot of like useful technology that we still use to this day, right? From going to space, from learning. But it was a public project. It was like, like when you're playing Civ, like, it's like a public works project to get to space. You know what I mean? It's something that benefits the whole everybody in the United States.
Yeah, whereas
right?
this is a private endeavor.
Yeah, and this is just a private endeavor so that he can sell fucking tickets to Jeff Bezos' Disneyland, which is a ride up to fucking the orbit.
Well, you know what I think the ultimate goal is? Is this not like what an Elon Musk presents of a colony? And I don't even know what Jeff Bezos' ultimate goal, stated goal is, but the ultimate dream, I think, of the ultra wealthy and the corporations behind them is for business and industrial reasons, like to
like mine asteroids and
space
shit.
mining, or just like a control over space would be highly lucrative, I would assume.
Oh yeah, totally. Think about all the missiles we can launch from there. But yeah, so I just think it's gross, and it's nothing more than just a distraction, honestly. That's all it is. There's all this shit. It's just and the media, my God, the media were fucking licking his ball bag front to back, dude. They were, oh my God, such a visionary, using all the,
I didn't see, again, I have to disagree. I didn't see a lot of that.
I can show you some clips after we're done here, and I'll show you.
Okay.
Where they're straight up like, they're like, this is really cool and good.
It seemed like it was a very lukewarm reception he got.
Well, no. People
okay.
online, a lot of them like criticized him. I'm talking about the media, though. I'm talking about like corporate media.
Okay.
Corporate media was, but the thing is, it's like, I think, this stuff used to be done by the government. This stuff used to be done by us, for us, and these corporations are just fucking, just like they're trying to stake their claim in space, whatever. I just think it's lame, honestly, and I hate that they're, but okay, before this launch though, they were looked at as like kind of like, oh yeah, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk wants to go to space, and he's what a visionary, they use that term, you know what I mean?
Well, a big complaint, several years ago was like, why aren't we funding moon missions anymore? Why is NASA not doing space missions anymore? And I think a lot of people fail to realize like how expensive and how tedious that is. I mean, the ISS exists, which is an international project to research in space. I think there has like a lot of times with these rocket endeavors is they're putting the horse before the carriage. I think that there's a lot more research in both like, rocket science and physics and astronomy in general that has to be conducted here on Earth before technology,
I totally agree,
and the ability to do like larger scale space exploration is feasible right now. Like, and what are these guys gonna get to? Musk and Bezos both. They're not landing on Mars. They're not landing on the moon. They're
going
gonna
around.
they're gonna take
They're
some
going
rocket
to the edge of space.
Yeah, and then come back down and do their fucking dick swinging media press conference.
Come out with dude, when he came out with that goddamn
and that's
cowboy
it. Like,
hat.
There's no. That's the point. There's no research to be gained here. There's no.
You want to feel some real accomplishment? Figure out some of the goddamn problems in the world, like houselessness,
homelessness. Dude, Jeff Bezos could literally, with all of his money, could solve homelessness.
Climate change. There is a lot of more pressing issues, I think, right now in our world than space exploration. Of course, that's, I think, not a field to be ignored or neglected, but there's a lot of stuff that can still be researched here from the surface of Earth.
Yeah,
Like launching rockets into the stratosphere just to come down 10 minutes later seems really pointless. It doesn't seem like you're gaining much other than just the media press conference you get afterwards. And maybe like whatever.
Okay, first off, I wanted to mention this. They were all wearing suits. Not like they were like uniforms, but they were just made by Jeff. So Jeff he's like, I gotta design my little space suit for when I come out and look all cool, you know, whatever. So Bezos said now he's gonna be spending time between Blue Origin and his Bezos Earth Fund, which just weirdly, I looked it up. It weirdly just said looking for solutions to climate crisis and climate change and, you know, all this stuff. It's just very vague.
Okay.
Didn't, you know what I mean? Nothing. It just seems like something a rich guy would have to make him look like a respectable gentleman. In that press conference, he gave two people $100 million to decide which charity. He basically just picked two people. He's like, oh, here's $100 million. You decide which charity it goes to. It's like, it's gross. It's kind of gross to kind of just do that out in front. You know what I mean? Just do it. Just do it. Why does it have to be all this manufactured vanity thing? Like you said, a vanity project so that he can put that in. And you know, he thinks of himself as a space explorer now. You know what I mean? Just for fucking.
He's going to call himself an astronaut till the day he dies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an astronaut.
Oh, I'm an astronaut. But, yeah, you know, I just think that it's, capitalism gone very, very off the rails.
Late stage capitalism?
Yeah, it's late stage capitalism for it. Yeah. Yeah, and I just feel that, you know, it's like, oh, how about paying your taxes, Jeff Bezos? How about that?
Sure.
Yeah, you know, how about we we chop up some of your money that you're fucking just hoarding. He's even said before in interviews he has so much money he doesn't know what to do with it.
Well, you know why Jeff Bezos only went to basically the stratosphere, the edge of space, right?
Why?
Because space isn't real.
Oh,
it's all an illusion.
Okay, I see what you're saying. This is one of your fucking your conspiracy
It's all
theories.
an illusion.
All right. Let me sit down. Let me sit back. But all right, space is fake, huh?
Space. Okay, before I get into this one,
Here we go.
You know, because in the previous conspiracy theories or mysteries that we've covered here, I think there's a little bit of validity to some of them. So before this one, I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer that I don't neither of us necessarily agree or believe this stuff or, you know, think it's true. And this is probably the most outlandish one I've had yet.
We're just entertaining some tomfoolery,
it's
some
just
general
fun to talk about, and it's some silliness that is entertaining to delve
to our
into.
26 fans out there.
In the
don't send any hate mail.
in line with this alleged billionaire space race, you know, I think there's this prevailing theory. It was born online. That space is fake.
One of the Chans.
It's unclear where this came from. It has its origins most likely within the moon landing hoax, which has been a long time conspiracy theory.
Moon landing's fake. I have the documents.
Moon landing never happened, and what it appears to me is that this was perhaps started online as a joke.
Okay.
That the space is fake was kind of like this, kind of like faux rallying cry for like internet trolls. Internet trolls like, you know, playing with conspiracy theories to kind of just be like, you know, when conspiracy theories come up and people are saying all this stuff, and then someone will chime in and be like, and space is fake too.
I bet you
know?
There's a huge overlap between space is fake folks and flat earthers.
But I actually, yes, that is true. There's a lot of connections to the flat earthers. It appears
very fun, notoriously fun bunch, the flat earthers.
What it seems like is that Space is Fake gained, I guess, some traction. If it did start as a joke, it gained some legitimate traction among conspiracy theories as kind of like an answer to, you know, when people are like, why do you think the Earth's flat? And, you know, that leads to a series of questions being like, oh, so are you saying the other planets are flat? What about space? And I guess an answer that a lot of flat earthers have to the bombardment of questions they receive when they inevitably receive when they say the Earth is flat, is they've kind of gone back to say, hey, you know what? Space is in general is fake. And there's this old idea of what is called a firmament. It originates from the Bible, actually, in the creation story of the Bible, that the Earth was in some type of dome shape. And that what was above, what we saw as the sky, is this thing called the firmament. And it's basically like a shell or some dome encasing the Earth. And what is outside that we see as the sky is... there's different theories. Either the most outlandish being that it's a hologram created by this theory also has a lot of ties to, you know, New World Order claims and whatnot. But that it's like either a hologram created by the New World Order in order to trick us, or that there's water, there's a weird ones that like it's water and that we're actually on the inside of the Earth, and the Earth itself is a shell that we live inside of, and the ocean, there's an inner ocean that we have, and then there's an outer ocean which is the firmament, and it's like encased in this dome.
The creativity of lunatics will never cease to amaze me.
So a big thing that this space is fake theory is tied to is a general mistrust in the government and scientific communities and various authority agencies. A big target of space is fake, and it's a big target for many conspiracy theories, from moon landing hoaxers to flat earthers, is that NASA is behind all this, and that NASA exists.
Evil NASA.
Yeah, that NASA is like a tool of the deep state or the New World Order, and that it exists purely to generate space-related hoaxes and to create fake images. Everything you see in space is CGI, and
you'll laugh when I'm the High Commander of the Space Force.
It's not real or whatever. But you know, there's some various extremes in this conspiracy theory. Like I mentioned, the far extreme being that this is all just a hologram, that what we see is a hologram projected by NASA or the NWO or whatever. But there's also some that maybe don't take it that far. They believe that perhaps the sun is real, the moon, our solar system is real. It's just everything that's further out from our solar system, be it the rest of the galaxy, is what's fake. That NASA doesn't actually know what's beyond our own solar system. So this idea of other galaxies existing and black holes and supernovas and all quasars and all that good stuff you hear about in deep astronomy is all kind of just made up. And by NASA or scientists. Hold on one second here. So there's a few different camps in this. Some believe that, like I said, there's some that believe that Earth is round, but humans never escape. It's not a flat Earth thing. It's just, it's impossible to go to space. They believe that, you know, the technology is just not there. It's not something that human beings are capable of doing. Some believe that we're able to launch satellites into orbit, but that's about it. Some believe outright that satellites don't exist. The interesting thing here is, I think that this space is fake ties to a greater mistrust in our government and authority systems.
Distrust in science.
Yeah. Distrust in science and just distrust in the government and authority agencies and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of conspiracies are based in this, like, oh, if I haven't seen it, then it's not true. And, like, why should I just take the word of the government or, you know, public authorities? Like, I have to see this to know it's true, and how do I just not know that they're just making this all up as, you know, as a hoax?
Just get $300,000 and you can go up on Galaxy Blue Origin, the Blue Origin rocket.
Well, you know, that actually lends to people that believe in this theory even more, now that rich people are getting in on the space, the quote-unquote space exploration frontier. That even lends more so to these conspiracy theorists. who think that, oh, see, like clearly now the world elites are even in on it. It's all just one big giant fabrication, and see they're playing with it now. So I want to read you something funny that I read that was published just the other day. I don't know if this is satire, if this is an online troll. It's from something I
That's a great preface to have.
It's someone called the Joachim Bartol official blog.
Official, very
So
official.
here's what he wrote about Jeff Bezos' rocket launch. He's a denier of space.
Okay.
The phallic dildo-looking rocket flight and CGI feast was served to the dumbed-down and sleeping masses on the 52-year anniversary of Stanley Kubrick's moon landing production that took place on July 20th, 1969, which was the 201st day of the year. And considering the undeniable phallic shape, it's also clear this was a ritual to the god Osiris.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
of course.
Osiris, who had his body cut into 14 pieces by
Of course,
Seth.
everyone knows that.
And the only piece Isis couldn't find was, well, his phallus. So she made a golden dildo, and somehow she got impregnated with that thing. Thus, the phallic worship amongst the elite and all the phallic symbolism and monuments / obelisks. She probably couldn't find it because NASA and later on Bezos took a ride on it to outer space. And also,
I appreciate this man's vitriol.
and also very appropriate that Branson went to space 9 days earlier in his quote-unquote virgin rocket.
Yeah, I go in my Chad rocket, all
Did
right?
Bezos impregnate the virgin Branson with his dildo rocket?
Wow.
They are a sick bunch, but I digress. So
I digress from all that crazy shit.
That's just what this guy had to say about that, which I thought
I
was
mean, maybe he honestly believes that.
fairly humorous. I mean, he delves into like some weird number thing, and he does like all these
Oh my
weird
God.
number things, and
Okay.
ends up by seeing, and clearly, as you can see here, outer space is fake.
Of course.
One interesting thing I want to mention too in researching this topic, and I've noticed this in
Research.
And I've noticed this in trying to research other conspiracy theories, is that if you try and Google it, you're directed to like very surface level articles through like space.com or whatever that are like the most outlandish conspiracy theories, the most craziest, wildest things people are pushing on the internet trolls are pushing. And it's really hard to actually find what people are saying online. I have to go and use alternative search engines. Google like kind of doesn't show it to you.
Interesting.
They kind of hide
Dead internet.
this and
Dead
other,
internet
yeah.
hiding the fucking
Yeah,
the documents.
I have to go and use like DuckDuckGo to find more information about this and other conspiracy theories. You know, so you know, I guess, you know, if you're someone who really does believe this stuff and believes there's a greater deep state, new world order plot at hand, there is just evidence that, like, why can't I find more information about space not being real? Google's directing me to all this nonsense, and it just like
it just
further
feeds into the
servers
nonsense.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
One interesting thing I did find is there's actually a lot of merch related to this topic.
Of course,
A
dude.
lot of merch.
Yeah, of course, dude.
I found one here that has the moon on it, and it just says "Nope" in big letters.
Nope.
And
Just nah.
on the back, it has something about NASA is a hoax. Do your own research. Blah blah blah.
Man, what is it with
This
people?
is on Amazon.com, by the way, to keep in line with Bezos. I found this product, and there's a lot of other websites selling various spaces fake merch. This, in the description, it says, have we been to the moon? Nope. We've been lied to by NASA and the government about the staged 1969 moon landing event. This t-shirt makes a great gift for men and women who are into conspiracy theories. This tee aims to shine light on the lies fed to us by secret societies who control our system.
Whoa.
So, yeah, someone's making money off this, and as always with a lot of these
course.
conspiracy theories.
Grifter's gonna grift.
Like I said, this one there's a big connection to ideas of new world orders and deep state with this. Is that people believe this because there's conspiracy theorists these days online have really gotten themselves into so deep of believing everything's fake. And believing
Right.
like everything we've been taught in school, everything the government tells us, everything we hear from scientists or other authority figures, none of it's real. So what this is, I think, is a product of people becoming too entrenched in that everything is fake type mindset. which a lot of people who are into conspiracy theories are very prone to.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm gonna go and when I go do I'm gonna go out right now and say I don't believe this. I think space is real.
Hot take.
So
Well, hot take alert. Hot take alert.
but you know, it just like I said, it serves a greater purpose as kind of. It's not itself a standalone conspiracy theory. Like you're not gonna find someone who doesn't believe in any conspiracy theories except that space is fake. Like that person doesn't exist. It's kind of
It's a deep track for conspiracy theorists.
It's like a little bit of a contingency conspiracy theory that when someone is getting pressed so hard about their views about the deep state, New World Order, flat Earth, moon hoaxes, the government, whatnot, that this is kind of a weapon they can pull out this is like a last ditch kind of, you know, fail safe where they're like, okay, space is fake too, you know.
It's just like, you know, it seems like it's just their way for just to be like, no, fuck it, it's fake. Space is fake.
It's like if you get pushed enough, especially if you're a flat earther or someone who's a moon hoaxer, you have, you know, your whatever, hate NASA. This is like your trump card to just be like, space isn't even real. Space isn't even real. It's a hologram.
End of conversation.
Or whatever. But I do want to talk about a little bit of like what I think about this, aside from it, you know, being a strange conspiracy theory that obviously has a lot of ties to just government mistrust and stuff, is that there is one thing that I think that there is a little bit of credence here for, and that's I like studying space. I like astronomy and cosmology as a topic. I was never good at it in school because I was bad at math, and a lot of math is required.
Yeah, and you're not a nerd.
And,
you talk to girls, okay?
But I do think like a lot of times when you are studying the greater universe, a lot of it is like theoretical. Like physics is theoretical. The further out you go, it's like they're kind of making guesses based on math, and there's like a lot of like assumptions and fill-ins being made. So
my sex life is theoretical.
I don't think the question is space fake, but the question here is how much of what cosmologists and astronomers theorize about the universe, be it anything from the Big Bang to theories about dark matter and dark energy, because you know dark matter and dark energy, it's not something that's been like empirically recorded in science. It's more that like through observations that cosmologists have taken,
right,
and models they've created of the universe, there's holes that they can't explain, so they create theories like dark matter and dark energy to kind of fill in these holes that they don't understand.
Right.
So like I said, the question isn't, is space fake? It's how much of our current model of the universe, our current understanding of physics is true and not true. Not that I think scientists are deliberately lying or that any science-based agencies are doing this as a hoax.
Right.
It's that they are, like, my question is how much of their theories are true and how much of them are incorrect. Because, you know, science throughout the ages, science has, you know, proposed theories that turn out not to be true, and you know the greater science evolves, the more research can be done on the universe. When it was just Newtonian physics and gravity, you know, we could just observe the our solar system itself, but then Einstein came along and gave us relative physics, then we're able to explore even more.
It builds on each other.
Yeah, and so it keeps expanding. But like, I wonder how many more blind holes we have. Like, it's not more like space is fake. It's how much do we not know about space, and how much of our current models of the universe, how much do physicists and cosmologists and astronomers truly understand, and how much is it just physics? And most of them, I think, will tell you, yeah, a lot of this is theoretical. Like, if you remember a few years ago, they first were able to capture a genuine picture of a black hole. And I remember reading something.
Looks a lot like my ex-wife.
I remember reading something that this was a very big moment in cosmology.
Right.
Because until then, they were like almost certain black holes existed.
Right. But they hadn't seen
But
it.
until this point, it was purely theoretical. They were like, we think they exist. All of our models and evidence tells us they're there, but there's no direct proof or evidence of them until they had that photo. then they're like, okay, black holes do exist. But up until then, it was just like they were pretty sure
you know what?
that they existed.
I get what you're getting at. So
But-
you're saying that because a lot of this stuff is, you know, theoretical until proven, that it might as well just be fake.
Yeah, and like a lot of models of the universe might not
Okay,
be true. Like the
okay,
Big Bang might not be how the universe.
But see, I
came
think
into
I think you're
existence.
giving a lot of logic to people who are not using.
Well, I don't think the conspiracy theorists are necessarily approaching it from this angle, but I think that this would be the most productive angle to approach space from if you want to maintain this air of skepticism that conspiracy theorists so love to have, is to just be like, well, how much of this stuff is not that it's fake, how much of this is true or close to true, and how much of this is just theory and assumptions and just fill-ins for things that they believe might be there because of what models and empirical data suggests. And you know, a lot of times, on the same note, a lot of times when you see photos from space, and I'm talking far out photos of nebulas, galaxies, you notice they're all colorized and crazy looking. A lot of those photos are actually altered, and a lot of times it'll say this is an artist's rendition or interpretation of the model.
Okay.
And a lot of times, those ones that are very colorful aren't actually like that. And what scientists have done is fill in a lot of the color to represent various radiation, like X-rays, gamma rays that aren't picked up by the human eye.
Okay.
So they represent them with these different colors. So the idea that you might have in your head if you think nebulas and think of like these great, beautiful, colorful things in space, if you went on Bezos's rocket and he flew you out there, and he flew you up to the Crab Nebula or wherever, it wouldn't look like the picture that you would see online. If you looked up Crab Nebula online and you see this big old colorful thing, it would be more dark, because really what those colors are is a representation of the radiation energy that's there.
Okay.
There might be some light, but what the colors representing is the gamma rays, the X-rays, the ultraviolet light that is there. So what I think at the end of the day, what space is fake in this theory, and a lot of conspiracy theories that center around science, I think shows us, is that the public has a really bad relationship with understanding science. There's a lot of scientific illiteracy.
I wonder where you get that from, Zach. You know, as Canada passes us in vaccinations.
Yeah, there's a lot of scientific illiteracy in America and the world, and I think science as a journalistic medium is very hard to cover. I think scientific journalism isn't as comprehensive and as fleshed out and as clear to the public as it could be.
Well, because at any time they could be wrong. They could be wrong, but it's their best understanding at the moment with the tools they have.
Yeah, and the idea of science is that, you know, you build hypothesis based off observation, then you collect data, empirical data, you run experiments, and then you form a theory based off that. And if that theory turns out to be wrong, then you adjust, you know, accordingly, you know. And so that's like the essence of the scientific method, the scientific process. But, you know, I think people just, the public at large, either they choose to ignore that, or they just kind of forget that when they read stuff about science, be it space or medicine or physics or anything. And so people kind of make big leaps and assumptions that they're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you know, and space, I think, is just the most obvious one, because you hear about stuff from space, and I think a lot of people look at it and they're like, there's no way things are that massive, and it's almost incomprehensible a lot of times. And some part of you almost is just like, is this even real? We can't see it, we can't feel it, we can't touch it. It's just models and scientific observations that majority of people, unless you're in the field, don't understand. And at least to people being like, how do we know this? You know, how do we know this is true or not? So I don't know if there's a good solution for it. Like, obviously education would be, I guess, an obvious answer, but I don't even know if that would change much, because I mean, I had a fairly decent education. I didn't go into any sciences deep, but even me, like I like to read this stuff as a layman. Like, it's still like every now and then I'm hit with this question in my as more of a philosophical sense than a literal, like, none of this is real. It's more of like, how do we even know any of this is true? Like, how do we, and if it is, why, and like, why are physics the way they are? Why does stuff like that out there exist? And how, if it really truly does, why does stuff as massive as pulsar galaxies, quasar galaxies exist in the way they do? Why does something as massive and gargantuan as a black hole exist, and for what purpose, and how did it get there? And then you're kind of offered these like somewhat understandable scientific explanations, but the majority of people, myself included, don't fully understand it. So you're still kind of left there in this skeptical state where like you're just both in awe of the grandness and the sublimeness of space, but also like kind of like a part of you just can't fully wrap your mind around it, and you're just like, maybe it's not there at all. If I can't see it, it's kind of like almost comes back to the classic philosophical, if there's a tree in the forest and it falls, does it make a noise? Like, if there's no observation, if there's no pickup, if there's no one there to experience
or the modern
that,
interpretation, if there isn't a story or a Snapchat made, did it actually happen?
Exactly. But like the point is, if there's like something that's so incomprehensible that it's purely just exist in a theoretical sense,
right?
Like, how do we even know if that's true or not?
I can see your point. I can see that. I think I think the grandness of space definitely like intimidates a lot of people. I think it kind of like, it's it kind of makes you question your own mortality a little bit, because you think of like, the lives and deaths of these certain universes that, whatever you think of, it's a very thought-provoking subject.
Sometimes it's almost easier to just believe it's fake than to do all that work and to do all that research.
Fuck it, I'm turning my brain off. Space is fake.
An interesting thought I had behind this, where I'm like, okay, let's just, for the sake of just, playing with the idea, let's say space is fake. What would be the reason? Well, like, cause like, what would be the profit to be made? What would be the reason there? And I have this idea that scientists believe that it's better for human beings to think that there's something out there rather than nothing at all. That this idea and the thought, if there truly is a void in the universe, there's nothing there, it's just emptiness, that idea is too nihilistic and too empty, and it would cause people existential horror to realize that there's just a void out there and there's nothing, and this is just what's here on Earth and what we can see.
Yeah.
And that it's almost more comforting to be like, oh no, there's crazy bunch of stuff out there. That's a little bit more comforting in a metaphysical sense than there is to be like, oh, there's nothing out there. It's just a void.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with this. I did forget to mention just one little touch on this. There's also a little bit of a tie-in with the simulation theory.
Oh yeah.
And that, like, without getting into it, if this world and human consciousness and the universe is all a simulation, then obviously the universe and space is part of the simulation and therefore fake. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Wow. Yeah. So I think it's a very interesting way of. I get why people might think that, because like you said, it's a very theoretical, it's very esoteric, it's like just thinking that there's a void, my god, that's a kind of a scary thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
that we're almost in some Truman Show type.
Yeah, that's
reality.
literally what I was thinking of. Like, like when he goes to the edge, and he thinks that he's gonna get in the boat and escape, and then he gets to the edge, and he literally starts walking up the stairs.
Yeah. But imagine in the Truman Show, he obviously goes out and there's a whole world there. But what if you open that door and there's nothing? It's just emptiness. It's a void. It's more reassuring to think that there's a whole bunch of stuff out there, a whole world, rather than a void of nothing. Okay, so my question for you is all these billionaires' vanity space projects, are they fruitless endeavors? Are they part of the New World Order and NASA's greater hoax? Are they in on it? Do they know and these are just fruitless endeavors and they're eventually going to hit the firmament and blow up?
If Jeff Bezos blew up, I would be okay with
What
that.
if he got so high up in the rocket, he's like, all right, guys, this is where the firmament is, and he reached down, he slapped it, he put an Amazon sticker on it, fell back to Earth, and he's like, well, space is fake, as you guys on the rocket now know, we're going to have to kill you now.
kill that old lady,
And the kid.
but not his brother. He can.
So,
Yeah.
I think research into space and astronomy in general, I think it's better for those efforts to be poured into here on Earth, into physics and cosmology and observation from Earth. These rocket projects aren't going anywhere. The vastness of space is too great. It's going to be
Technology will need to jump
Yeah.
it's probably going to be past our lifetimes. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. You know what I mean? It most likely will not happen in our lifetime. Maybe at the end, who knows? But who knows if the world will even be here because of global warming? So there you go.
Well, space will still be there. So
Space
what
will
do you
still-
think? Is space real?
Yeah. Yeah. I think space is real, but you know what? Like, kind of after the case you've made, I kind of understand why people might think that. I still don't understand why people think the Earth is flat. That's still one that.
Like I said, a lot of the conspiracy theorists, I don't think, come at it from the same angle that I am of like being, questioning the theories themselves. I think, like I said, it's more of just a tool for just people that are really entrenched in conspiracy
Right.
theories as like a fallback. Like, yeah, everything's fake and space is too.
Cool.
kind
Now
of.
I can go to sleep at night. It's interesting. It's one that you were bringing up a lot.
I've
and
wanted to cover this one since we
Yeah.
started this show.
But,
'Cause it's hilarious. It's
it,
funny.
It is. It is.
Space
pretty,
is fake.
It is pretty funny. I gotta admit. Yeah.
It's a fun idea to toy with too, in a metaphysical, philosophical sense.
totally.
I think.
Yeah. I just think
Is there truly this magnificent, grand craziness that we know about, or is it just nothing?
just a void,
Just a void.
just like my sex life.
And I mean, your sex life and space have a lot in common. It's cold, empty, and unforgiving. And occasionally a billionaire might try and launch a phallic-shaped rocket at it.
All right.
Just to test the boundaries. See how close we can get to that black hole.
But yeah, I think a lot of, the more you kind of expose me to these conspiracy theories, the more I just think these are just tools for people to just understand the world. And, maybe they're just kind of coming at it from a weird and warped view. But, there's a reason to kind of why. Now, we're
Like
not
I said, some of the other
sometimes-
ones we've
and
talked about aren't as... this is the most outlandish one by far.
Yeah.
you know?
Sports are still fake.
Yeah.
Don't worry. And time travelers, they're real.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps.
Perhaps. But is space fake? No. But it's interesting that people think it is. And I mean, it's people have been floating that moon landing one for forever. So
That predates the internet.
yeah.
You
That's an original meme.
Yeah, that's an old school one. The only and I would like to cover this one too. The only one that's older than one of the oldest ones I can think of is the Hollow Earth theory. It almost
yes.
goes back to the 19th
That might be a
century.
good one to do one on.
That one's pretty cool and it's related to a lot of
Isn't it like they believe like monsters are in the core or something like
dinosaurs went into the earth and Nazis escaped into the earth. We'll have to get to that one day. aliens, all UFO phenomena. It's not from outer
that?
space. It's not from outer space. It's inside the earth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so again, like I said, a lot of these conspiracy theories, you start questioning a hollow earth thing and you're like, well, what about all the space stuff? And they'll be just like, space isn't real. Everything you know about space is all coming from the inside of the earth.
Well, there you go. From the mouth of babes.
One more funny thing on this
Okay.
note, I was seeing something that said that the space is fake people hate ufologists and alien people because they are adamant that the government has staged aliens and UFOs to help propagate the lie of space is fake. That say,
Damn.
hey, there's the UFOs from space, the aliens from space, and that people that believe that are playing into the big government lie that space is fake. So
I think that's just, you know, I don't think you can get a bunch of conspiracy theorists to all agree on one theory.
that's how you break it down. You get them to argue each other about their points.
That's right, and they cannibalize themselves, and then it floats off into nothingness, into the void. All right, well, very interesting one, Zach. I was not expecting to like it, but you know, I gotta admit, it's interesting. You gotta say.
It's a fun idea to play with.
Well, thanks for listening, and we'll come back at you next week.
Thank you for joining us, Robert.
Yeah, he's outside. It was too hot in the shed.
Yeah. Got a little too controversial. Robert couldn't take the truth.
He didn't want to be truth pilled.
He's being red pilled too hard.
All right, well, we'll catch you next week. We're out of here.
Thank you for
Peace.
listening.